Over the next few minutes, I will give you everything I have ever learned over the last 16 years about finances. The first thing I want to talk about is stewardship. And when it comes to stewardship, everything you own right now will belong to someone else. No matter how much you have, you're going to end up with zero. I don't care if you're a billionaire on the Forbes list or you're one paycheck away from zero. In the end, none of us are going to take our money with us, our money or our belongings. There's no amount of money that can help you escape death. And we have seen things when it comes to catastrophes, accidents, natural disasters, and somehow we still forget. Ultimately, the lesson I learned is that we are stewards. Everything we physically own will flow through our possession and out of our possession. So what you do with it right now matters for the next person. If you squander your money, your talents, your wisdom, or knowledge, what will it mean for the next person? One other thing I've observed over the years is that health is truly wealth. Trust me, because your health is going to be the one thing you need when you don't have anything else. Think about it. Health and wealth actually have the same or very similar pattern. When you make regular and consistent deposits into your health, you're going to see the benefit as you get older. So whether it's eating a balanced diet, incorporating physical activity, stretching, staying hydrated, vitamins, getting good sleep, those all allow you to have a healthier life when you get old. These are things that are going to help with keeping medical bills lower in life. And on the wealth side, if you make consistent deposits into savings, investing, financial knowledge, increasing your self-awareness about money, it will show when you're older because you're going to be built to absorb the bumps in the road. You don't even have to be perfect with either of those. You just need to stay on track more than you're off track. And I hope you know what I mean by this, because it's a fact that we're all going to die. We don't know the date or the time. There isn't much we can control, but when it comes to matters of our health, I truly believe we're either speeding up our final day or delaying our last day, depending on the type of balance we have in our life. So if you have the ability to control these factors and your quality of life, you need to have balance. And that means your health needs to spend more time on track, a consistent track, than off track. Another thing I learned over the years is that you have to learn how to celebrate. There are plenty of us who come from a generation of people who have worked so hard and they didn't have any time to celebrate anything. Growing up might have been school, work, home, church, repeat. And then later, after all these years of working and maintaining, you realize that there's health issues and heart issues and other things limiting them from the life they worked so hard for. There's stress, hypertension, high cholesterol, the list goes on. And you realize that they never took time to take care of themselves. Vacations feel like a foreign concept to them. So what I'm saying is I don't want you to let your elders suffer in vain. The only way for things to feel like it was worth it for them is that if you make sure you disrupt that pattern and celebrate a little bit. I don't know what it looks like for you. It could be having more balance in your life. It could be a vacation here and there. Something in their memory. You're doing something in their memory, whether they're still here or not. Growing up, I remember my parents worked jobs where they couldn't simply volunteer at school without sacrificing a bill or making my other siblings feel like they weren't getting the same treatment. So it allowed us to be very independent, but they were the parents that you only saw at back to school night and graduation. And now when I take time to volunteer at my kids' school, I personally dedicate it to my parents because they weren't able to do that. So I engage with the students, I help the staff out. It's something that I've come to enjoy over the last 4 years. And I've met and remember so many students and they tend to remember me as well. But it's an awesome experience. So something else I've learned is that the professionals are just wrong. If you think that you have to be right about something in order to succeed, you're wrong too. Because take a look at sports TV, financial networks, news networks. They consistently get things wrong and they have inaccurate predictions. And that generally doesn't slow them down in their profession. And they're actually viewed as experts in their professions. Think about the athletes who are confident at the very beginning of the season that they're going to win a championship, the analysts that predict one team is better than the other, or even the national and local news networks that report stories before they have all the facts. It's okay to be wrong. People get paid consistently to be wrong. So don't ever think you have to be perfect. One of the first things I noticed is that financial analysts and experts were allowed to be wrong about stock picks, and there were no repercussions. They aren't required to be correct about their picks. They forecast, they guess, they argue, they agree, they disagree, and they do it well, but they don't have a crystal ball that tells them exactly what they need to do. The next thing I learned is kind of funny, actually, and I stand on this until my last days. No one knows what they're doing. I grew up thinking that people had it together because they looked the part. They dressed nice, they spoke well, they were on TV, they looked like they were untouchable. But the truth of the matter is that they're learning on the job. They have no clue what they're doing. They're somewhat prepared, but they haven't experienced it until they've lived through it. And the longer I look around and the longer I spend in corporate, it becomes more and more clear. And it became clear as day when I had my own kids. I used to think my parents could figure anything out. It wasn't fully clear to me until I had kids of my own. I used to think my parents could figure anything out, and they had the authority, they had life experience, they had the means to do these things. And then you realize they're not perfect. They don't know everything. They're just managing and doing the best they could with what they have. We are all doing this life for the first time together at different starting times with different advantages, disadvantages, parental support, finances, desires, influences, technology, predispositions, the list goes on. And the truth is that when you have a child and you leave that hospital, no one from the hospital is keeping up with you to make sure everything is okay. As soon as you leave the hospital, it's all on the parents. Whether they've been reading parenting books or not, whether they're surrounded by a community of other parents or not, whether childcare is figured out, they're freestyling it. So the variables of what happens after, they're essentially endless. Don't let anyone for 1 second let you think that they have it all figured out. Some people just simply have a better way of making things look. And in the end, it truly taught me that it's actually important to give people some grace, because we all mess up, we aren't perfect, and sometimes we just simply don't know what to do. And life has this way of humbling you, because true wisdom has nothing to do with your knowledge. Wisdom is acknowledging that you don't know everything. Something else I learned in over 16 years of finance is that your environment shapes your finances. We often focus on income, budgeting, investing, but your environment plays a massive role in your financial success. So think about the people you spend the most time with. They're going to influence your financial habits, whether you realize it or not. If everyone around you is reckless with money, it's easy to normalize financial instability. And it becomes much harder to just picture anything outside of that. Another thing, where you live matters. Some cities make it harder to build wealth due to high costs, predatory financial practices, or just lack of opportunities. Your daily habits, what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, those are either going to pull you toward financial success or keep you in the same place. And if you want to change your finances, change your environment. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to just level up financially. Something else I learned over the years is that inflation is your biggest enemy. Most people think saving alone is just going to help them get rich, but it's not. $10,000 today is not going to buy the same goods as 20 years from now. So inflation always erodes the value of money every year. And the best defense is investing. You have to invest in things that outpace inflation. So we're talking about stocks, real estate, businesses. If your money is just sitting in a bank, you're quietly losing purchasing power. The goal is not to just save, it's to grow. I also learned you have to pick your pain, worry or regret. They're both really painful, because when we worry, we're too focused on the future. And then when we regret, we're too focused on the past. So you have to pick, especially when it comes to savings and investing. When I finally got into investing, I didn't have enough money to really make serious money. So I had to make a choice. Would I rather own a stock and worry about it going to zero, or would I rather regret not owning it at all? When you own an asset, the value will fluctuate because of external factors. That's a fact. But if you never own, now you miss out and you have to live with that decision. It works the same way when it's time to sell an investment or asset. I would ask myself, can I live with the regret of selling all of my holdings in this stock, or would I rather continue to own and worry about its value in the future? I mean, think about it. There's story after story of people who are early investors of a company and they decided to part ways, or they sold early and now they're kicking themselves. And then within that same vein, there are people who held on forever and it changed their whole financial life for the better. Whatever it is, you have to make sure you can sleep at night with that specific pain, whether it's worry or regret. There are some legitimate scenarios to be fearful of or nervous about, but you can't allow them to paralyze you. I remember being a stockbroker for many years, and when I would tell people that I was a stockbroker, they would say, "Oh, I need to invest. I'm so behind." Or they would say, "I have so many questions for you. I don't know what to do. I don't know what account to open up, so I never got started. So I feel like I'm behind." Or, "I don't know what they're talking about with my 401k, so I didn't put anything in it." I've heard so much of the same thing. You cannot allow fear of misunderstanding or the fear of making mistakes keep you from moving forward, okay? Especially in 2025, you can't get time back. No one can. You can't get any of your time back. In fact, all you have is right now. And there is nothing you can do about yesterday, regardless of how much you make or where you come from. Something else I learned over the years is that there's an invisible cost with financial growth. People assume building wealth is just about making more money, but there actually are some hidden costs that people don't talk about. Family members who distance themselves because they don't want to grow. Friends who think you've changed because you refuse to be reckless with money. Mental exhaustion from constantly making financial decisions. Having wealth will change you, but it also changes how people treat you. You just have to be prepared for the psychological shift that comes with financial success. Another thing I learned is that fear will kill you faster than anything else. I remember being a person who would be careful about everything. I didn't want to do specific things because I knew that I might mess up. I think to myself, what if I did it wrong? Or what if I sound stupid for asking this question? And I remember feeling like this, and I eventually went through all of my college years and never really stopped a professor to ask them a question after class or during class. And looking back, it was the dumbest thing I could ever do when you consider how expensive a college education is. And this is pre-YouTube, Google. I mean, they were very infantile stages. But the truth is, the only way to know if a question is stupid or dumb is if you sit on the question and never ask it. The dumbest question is the one you never ask, because not only will you go on without getting the answer, but when things eventually come up, everyone will say, "Why didn't you ask?" Then you have to sit around with this look on your face. So when it comes to fear, I realized that in my younger years, I was nervous about speaking up about specific things, but the longer you live, you begin to realize it's actually very liberating to just get something off of your chest. And at the same time, it's also humbling to know that there could be an audience sitting and waiting to hear everything you have to say. But there are some people that are so paralyzed by fear that they truly believe that public speaking is more scary than death. I came to find that when you do face that fear, whatever it is, then you truly start to live. One more thing that I learned about finance over these 16 years is that comparing yourself to other people is counterproductive. Just look at it from a practical level. Let's assume you finish comparing yourself to someone else. You realize they have more money than you, a bigger house, nicer car, whatever. Now what? On a very basic level, what can you truly do with that information? There is no value you can gain from doing that. If you compare yourself with someone else and you happen to just put them on a pedestal, it doesn't help you get further in life or become healthier or wealthier. You still have to start with you. You have to start with you to get where you want to be. It's okay to gather inspiration from people and motivation, but at the end of the day, if you use people as a measuring stick, you're always going to come up short. In the end, life isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, adapting, and making the most of what we have. If you like this video, I want you to take a moment, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on future content. And until next time, stay present.